Hello everyone and welcome back. We're jumping into some more battles against War Master of Moloch here, where I am going to be coming in with the Beastmen, playing around with a bunch of the new toys and doing a marked Beastmen army, because yeah, you can do this. You know, there's so many marked units alongside some Chaos Undivided stuff which kind of fits. So, in my roster today, I have a Shaman with the Law of Death mounted on a chariot. We've got two Wargors on foot. None of them really have any bonuses, barring Spirit Leech, because it is such a very good spell. 2 units of Zangors, because Sword and Board, very good for defenses. 2 units of Pestigors, great weapons are always wonderful. 4 units of Slangors, because I am really liking these units right now. 2 units of Corngors, big damage as per usual. A Chimera and a Praeton. The Praeton itself didn't really do much throughout the whole battle, I'm not going to lie. We do have the Wood Elves coming in quite fiercely with a Glade Lord, a Branch Wraith, units of Eternal Guard, 2 of them with shields, 2 without, a unit of Dryads, 2 units of War Dancers, 4 units of the Glade Archers, because they're very useful. 1 unit of Waystalkers, 2 units of War Hawk Riders, and finally a Giant Eagle. There's a lot of range here. It's what the Wood Elves do best. A lot of heavy hitters. My idea when dealing against Wood Elves was trying to get in, lock them down as fast as possible, but unfortunately it just doesn't seem like that's going to be the case very early on. As always, I do have to remind you guys that yes, we are not really multiplayer people, so we're just going with rule of cool. This army probably isn't the best for the Beastmen in multiplayer, but it does do fairly decently in campaign. Now, we're jumping in there, and there's quite a lot that's going to be going on, because I've got some Corngors at the back, ready to engage. They're going to be shooting me from the very beginning, and they're going to try and distract with their flyers, which is something that you can kind of expect there. I really have to hold him down. That was my only feeling, and I was going for the middle, because I figured he'd be going for an area where I would not get to him too quickly. Lo and behold, he was kind of open. So the Corngors came in quite heavily. Sure, they're going to die out quite fast, but the idea was if I can lock down a bit of their units, kind of break their formation a little bit, I can hit them as hard as possible and get my other troops to get there quickly. My flyers are going to be dealing with their flyers, and yeah, probably not the best, because elven steeds and elven flying mounts are generally a lot faster. Corngors are going to start breaking very early on, but the other stuff is making its headway. Basically, I have to be very quick here, which is fine for most of those Gors. Those Pestigors are very slow, though. A lot of the Nurgle stuff is very sort of figured out recently. I guess in campaigns it's a lot different, because you usually get buffs towards your armies, but it's more of the case of getting there sooner rather than later. I didn't use a lot of Vanguard stuff. I really made that mistake. I should have actually just Vanguarded as much as possible. It's just a shame that you can't really put Vanguard on your characters. There was another mistake where I put my Spellcaster to go after the flyers, and maybe I shouldn't have done that. I should have actually gone to focus on other stuff. Hell, my Pestigors went the wrong way too for a while. This is what happens when you're dealing with multiplayer and you're not used to multiplayer. You're just kind of scrambling a little bit. It doesn't help that we were kind of just shit-talking each other throughout the battle, but, you know, in a friendly way. This is kind of expected. That being said, it doesn't really take too long for my Wargors, my Zangors, and my remaining Slangors to come in. And the tactic here is, again, as per usual, maybe it's because I'm a one-trick pony, but envelop. And trying to surround as many of their troops as possible, trying to stop the shooting from coming out, and just locking down what I can from the elves, because they do have a lot of better mobility than I do. So if I can just stop them, hold them down in place, I should be able to just slam my way through. The Chimera is making its way back so I can do a flaming attack, because the flaming attack of the Chimera is incredibly useful. Honestly, if I can learn how to micromanage a Chimera a lot better, just shooting and then coming back down, doing some damage, when the recharge is done, going back up again, the Chimera could be a rather destructive force of nature. It does incredibly well so far. I did manage to get it down. I think I didn't really get it back up flying for a while, but the damage done and just holding down those archers, it's wonderful. It does a decent amount of AoE damage as a splash, which does help there. The War Dancers coming in to just hurt me a little bit. And also, its charges inside of the unit are very good overall. At this point, my Pestigors start coming into the battle, meaning that the grand majority of my troops are in combat, barring the Praeton, which is chasing down some of the Hawk Riders. The problem is, Yeah, I should have had the Puritan come back. It's fast, but it's not fast enough. It can't really do anything there, where for most of the battle, it just kind of did nothing, which is a bit of a shame. You kind of expect more from something like the Puritan, and I feel like I could have used it a lot better in the middle of the combat to really hurt the elves, because it does do fairly decently fighting against elves or just like normal mass units there. I've been favouring a lot of melee builds lately. I think just the Slaanesh DLC has inspired me a lot. Normally I like playing with a lot of archers and so on, but why not, right? Something different, change it up. We're about 10 years into the setting at this point, might as well try something different. And yeah, it seems to be going very well for me. The Wood Elves are fighting back quite heavily, so they are doing quite well and they are getting some good spells off. Pendulum hitting incredibly hard, but I think a bit of just surround damage just really helps here. If you can stop them from casting, if you can stop them from really shooting with their bows, Wood Elves start to melt quite heavily. A big problem I had is not really using the gauze, the war gauze too well. Should have had them mounted so they could just move around a little bit more, and I should have aimed for the heroes a bit. But overall, I think Beastmen are performing incredibly well, but that was expected anyway. Despite the fact that there's not a lot of mobility when it comes to the marked gores, they are incredibly strong. The marks of chaos are just very, very good. You can see that when it comes to the marked chaos warriors, it's basically the same reaction and the same kind of expectation here too. Really, the only thing that makes me think on how this could be better is if we started getting some more marked animals, more marked beastmen. It's a shame, but I guess because of the fallout that happened during Shadows of Change, they kind of pivoted away from it. And yeah, I do agree they should not be DLC, so nothing like Zentigors or Slaanesh and stuff like that. But as an FLC units every now and then during a major patch, could be kind of useful, not gonna lie. It's something that would really help out to just bring in some more marked gores. You never know if Creative Assembly have that plan for the future, which could explain why there are no corner tours still for the Beastmen, which is really odd. It does feel like they could be incredibly useful, but the end times are coming. End times content, marks were a thing for the Beastmen again. Maybe. I mean, overall, it's still a fun battle. It's just a lot of foot troops. Again, you can see here on screen, just the damage is the Slangors. It's mostly just the Slangors, the Chimera also, and then the usual stuff, right? Like, obviously, when it comes to Zangors, big damage comes from them because they are so defensive. They can really hold out a lot of punishment. You've got stuff like, really, just Beastmen do really good damage if they can bog down the enemy. The Wood Elves did what they could. I feel like a bit more skirmishing would have been better. But this was one of those weird army lists that we couldn't use unit caps because of the marked theme. And we were just kind of playing around here. Overall, again, very enjoyable battle. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start up with a discussion. There's more battles to come. And I'll see you all again very, very soon.